Gulag. I made it through 300 pages of the Gulag archipelago before finally putting it down for good. Out of necessity, my general well-being couldn't withstand more details of such unconscionable evils. Where does one begin? How does a person wrap their mind around the dispassionate, calculating, business-minded, impersonal, systematic soul-crushing of 66 million people by one totalitarian regime alone? The arbitrary witch hunt, paranoid whispers are uttered, fabricated out of whole cloth. Next thing you know, you're hauled into a concentration camp to be starved, tortured, worked to death, and to what conceivable constructive purpose? An answer to the ills and shortcomings and flaws of capitalism? Jean Paul Sartre thought it was a good idea. What further proof do you need that people will believe anything? How does something like this first germinate, grow, and blossom in such grotesque, gargantuan proportions? No one there to recognize such evil in its nascent stage and squelch it before it grows legs? How does something like this happen? I might as well ask how I and the rest of the functioning world can walk past legions of homeless people without batting an eye. With ease, without the slightest pang of conscience, either foot treads in front of the other. What interests me is how someone can survive Gulag and to their dying day hold steadfast in their faith in a benevolent anthropomorphic sky being who not only knows how many worms there are per acre in nutrient-rich Lancaster County soil in Amish country, Pennsylvania, but takes an active interest in human affairs and could, should a moment of need arise, intervene on the behalf of the planetary sufferer. Abraham's Yahweh. History has proved him ample opportunity to set his quiver full of lightning bolts down and exercise some of that love and mercy we hear born-again Christians bandying around he has so much of. Still waiting. There are two apparent explanations for this phenomenon of undying faith to my mind. One is genetics. There must be a belief gene. Some of us have it, some of us don't. The other is inculcation, especially when from a young age a belief system is repeatedly drilled into one's head. The threat of eternal hellfire on the developing young mind builds permanent roadblocks to critical thought on most people's psyches. Most people just can't break through the childhood mind screw. Yet still, there is spirit, there is soul. I have a spirit, I have a soul. You have a spirit, you have a soul. I think they are one and the same and self-evident. The workings of the heart and mind, to my heart and mind, clearly exceed and transcend the physical body. Every thought, impression, impulse, instinct, and inkling manifested through my consciousness, channeled through every experience, tells me this. There is something eternal and indestructible in me that will persist in its existence beyond its current incarnation and the peregrinations of its current incarnation. Suffering. Why on earth do we suffer? Is earth a testing ground for spirits? Is the human form merely a physical vessel for suffering and the incumbent lessons learned through suffering? What an abominable rationalization that could be. Can we acquire true wisdom and knowledge any other way? If not, what a price we pay for wisdom and knowledge. Are the goods rendered worth the price? Would our time be better served eating Cheetos and chocolate ice cream while watching reruns of Bugs Bunny Toy with Elmer Fudd? Pleasure. Could there be pleasure, joy, euphoria, without its ugly contrast? Can pleasure teach us as much as suffering? I don't think so. But I also know there are great truths derived and appreciated only through the ecstatic heights of great pleasure. Orgasmic, the intricate splendor of nature's phenomenons and the impressions they make on our human organism. Spiraling. Around and around it goes. How can we not know? How can we be surrounded by all this and not know? Physicists say we know 4% of what's out there. How can a universe spew forth beings such as us with the insatiable desire to know, the awareness, the breadbasket of consciousness holding our volition? I'm not clear what that means, but it came to me, unvolitionally. And withhold ironclad proof of who and what we are, Where we come from and where we're going. Ironclad proof, which, if set loose in our midst, would surely put an end to all this tomfoolery. But no, to no avail. It's all too hideously perfect. Somebody out there is having fun at our expense. I have this vision of God as a deranged monkey masturbating all through eternity, simultaneously fingering his own asshole, throwing his feces at a wall, ripping out his own entrails, then smearing his entrails with his feces, and then by tracing his cum-stained and shit-stained fingers through the admixture, somehow divining, transcribing, in a kind of voodoo, all of history. Should I keep that to myself? Not too many Christians or physicists would agree. For the life of me, I see no cosmic cohesion, an organized, methodical chaos operating under a handful of immutable laws of physical nature and human nature, with pockets of precarious order, tenuous at best. But still, there is something amorphous, ineffable, yearning, reaching, something good, still purifying in the fire of time, fighting for a foothold, to establish roots, to make a stand. It is here, always has been here, but it's struggling for its life in the war between good and evil. Inside me, there's an optimist. In the smallest of ways, I'm playing my part. Over and under. July 2015.